Thanks again to Lisa Kuipers, who joined us from the Trenton DBIA. Well, the brand new Economic Development Coordinator for the City of Quinte West is joining us right now, Brian Grattan. Brian, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So you came to the role in January. Where were you before this?
So actually, I spent 15 years with the Township of Havelock, Belmont, Methuen, and so I joined the City of Quinte West in January of this year.
All right, so you know the broader region quite well, and with that though, the Trenton's Farmers Market taking on a bit of a new angle as ongoing precautions continue with COVID-19, starting as of Saturday, July 4th, and now just one day on the Saturday only this summer. Could you talk about that decision?
Yeah, so for the 2020 season, we've been in constant communications with the health unit, and we felt that it probably, with all the logistics in place, it was going to make more sense to just operate the market on one day a week. There's a lot of barriers that we have to put in place. We have to control the traffic flow to one-way traffic. So it is going to be a little more of a setup procedure that'll have to take place. So we just felt that with staff and resources that it just made sense to operate the market one day a week. So it'll be on Saturdays from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Yeah, Saturdays this time on Front Street. And Brian, could you talk about the extra safety precautions you've been taking? Because as you mentioned, one-way traffic as well. But what are some of the things you're recommending for shoppers?
Oh yeah, so basically we're asking that if they can pre-order ahead of time, so they can visit our website and then call the vendors or email the vendors and have their order ready for pickup when they get there. We're asking basically to limit the amount of time that you're at the market. It's not going to be the social gathering that we're all used to. We're kind of going by the get in, get out rule. But we will be monitoring the entrance and exits and trying to control the amount of people within the market area. So in the early going, it's going to be a learning curve for all of us here. So we may be able to allow the entrances just to flow freely, but we certainly will be monitoring, and if we do have to limit the amount of people in, then we'll certainly do that. And we're actually encouraging everybody to practice social distancing. And basically, we're asking that you don't handle any of the items. You let the actual vendors handle them. There will be a hand sanitizer at both entrances, as well as all the vendors will have sanitizers as well. But basically, we're just working with the health unit on their requirements, and they're going to be there. So they're going to certainly educate our vendors on how we're going to move forward with their requirements.
What are some of the vendors you have this year? Because the Quinte West Farmers Market is always eclectic with a well range of people represented.
Yeah, so we have many of our vendors back from previous years, Natural Themes, Applegate's Orchard, and we have some of the artisans coming back as well. So it was nice that we were allowed to have the artisans come back, because in May, if we would have opened in May, we weren't allowed to have the artisans. But once the retail sector was allowed to open up, the province allowed artisan vendors to be at the market as well. So Carl's Tarts will be back as well. So
Yeah, new this year, though, the online market, a really good component, especially with COVID-19 right now. How did that initiative get started?
Well, obviously, we knew the importance of people wanting to source local food, and we knew that the vendors were going to have all this product. So we certainly wanted to work with them and get them online, and at least have that avenue that the customer could reach out to each one of the individual vendors and make those arrangements for pickup or delivery. And I see that as something that'll carry on. And, especially with this pre-ordering thing, we're really going to try to drive the consumer to there to make those pre-orders. Now, issue being is when it's online, you have to drive to each individual farm, which doesn't make it great for pickup or delivery. So it's great to have the market up and going, so that obviously it's a one-stop shop. You come and you pick up all your supplies from each one of your favorite vendors. So,
can we still bring reusable bags to the market? Because I know around in the Belleville region, it's kind of a toss-up as to what reusable bags you can bring in still.
Well, the health unit really hasn't said anything about that. So I would suggest it's probably going to be much like a grocery store, that if you do bring a reusable bag, they'll probably put it in a bag and then you would have to handle it and put it into the reusable bag. It'd just probably be the vendor wouldn't be handling that reusable bag.
Well, thanks for the clarification, because there's rules changing all the time. Brian, coming from the Havelock region, what are some of the things you took away from your former position to your new position? What are some of the things you've been trying to bring into the City of Quinte West?
Well, actually, it was kind of neat to have the farmers market as part of my portfolio, because actually 3 years ago we started a farmers market in Havelock, Belmont, Methuen. So and it was nice to have that background, because I think coming in here and having all these changes in place, and actually I still remain as a volunteer on the committee for the Havelock market. So they just recently reopened, so I've been involved with that. So at least I have a little bit of a background with the health unit. Now each health unit can be a little bit different with their regulations, but for the most part, I think they're fairly similar. And Havelock's is actually open and seems to be running seamlessly. So I'm hoping that that happens here in Quinte West on Saturday. So.
Well, now with your second venture to another market in a different location, how do you think the conversations changed around, buying locally and specifically produce locally from our local farmers and vendors?
Well, and I think it's very important. It was kind of interesting that I was actually probably fielding more phone calls from customers wanting to know when the market was going to open than I was actually from vendors looking to see when the actual market would open. But obviously I was communicating with the vendors throughout via email, but I certainly did have a lot of calls from the local people. And I mean, they realize the importance of supporting local and buying local produce. So.
Well, it's really nice to finally meet you, Brian. What else is on your portfolio as Economic Development Coordinator?
Oh, actually, we have the Economic Recovery Task Force, so that's been taking up a fair amount of our time within our department. And obviously, this getting the logistics set up for the farmers market has certainly taken up a fair amount of time over the last little while, and we've done a couple business surveys as part of the Economic Recovery Task Force. But yeah, no, it's been a busy time. We're still receiving inquiries for commercial and industrial properties. So we still work on our day-to-day stuff, but the COVID-19 has certainly added a whole new perspective to our job at this time. So.
What are some of the takeaways that you take away professionally as someone new in this role, but also navigating a whole different system?
Yeah, no, and it's really nice to come to a team like Quinte West has. I mean, actually with Havelock, Belmont, Methuen, I was one person within the department, where now you actually have a team to work with, and it's certainly obviously a larger community, so a little busier with the industrial and commercial developments, which is really nice, because that's something, obviously as an economic developer that you like to work on. So it's been great. I've enjoyed my time here. Certainly kudos to the team at Quinte West. It's a great team to work with, and hope to stay here for many years.
Is there any ideas being pitched around about the future of the Trenton farmers market in terms of size or expanding or the amount of vendors? What's kind of the atmosphere like right now?
Well, actually, that's one nice thing about the location that we have. So we do have room to obviously expand pretty well as big as we want, actually. So there's lots of room there. This year, I mean, obviously with social distancing, because we are going to actually have separation between the booths as well. So that will limit the amount of vendors that we could take on this year. And we're not going to allow vendors to just show up and pay the daily fee. They actually have to pre-register with the city prior to that, because we'll have to figure out the logistics of the setup. And we'll need to know how many vendors we're going to have there on each market day, so that we can be prepared for that. And then that way we're not putting barriers in place that we have to move to accommodate a vendor that just showed up. So
what is the fee for vendors, by the way?
So actually that's a great question. And at this point it's under review. So I think we're going to be looking at a prorated fee structure this year. The $18 daily fee is still there. They just need to pre-register prior to that, but typically it would be $170 for the season.
Okay.
And that would be both Wednesday and Friday, Wednesday and Saturday, but this year we're just Saturday only.
All right, for more information on the City of Quinte West, the farmers market, and more importantly, the online component, where do we go?
So go to the City of Quinte West website, go into the Open for Business, click on the Front Street Farmers Market, and you'll find the online vendors there. And we'll certainly be adding the vendors to that as they join, and certainly we'll be developing their profiles, and we'll have them on display on our website.
Thanks again to Brian Grattan, the new Economic Development Coordinator with the City of Quinte West. Once again, the farmers market, we're so glad it is back, especially this year in Trenton, and it is open on Saturdays. Brian, thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations on the role and good luck with the first start of things.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Brian.